Hi there, hello. Hi there, everyone. Welcome once again to reading Machiavelli's Discourses. Today, we are actually finishing book 1, chapter 59. I discovered that this was the 59th chapter. I got the numbering wrong when I took the accounting of the chapters, and there's a typo in my edition of the my edition of the Discourses that had a typo, and I didn't catch. It was wrong until now. I'm looking at this saying, well, why was 59? And oops. So I was going through all my recordings, thinking with joking with this, my note that I wrote down with the note in here that I've been working with, and we got 59. So okay, this is the last book. We wrap up today, book 1. After this, we turn to book 2 we'll talk about that. Today, the chapter deals with continuing the theme of the last book, about the virtue of the multitude. He asks a question at the end of that chapter about whether who is it better to have a treaty with, a confederation or a league with? Is it better to be who should be trust, a league or a confederation under a prince or a republic, or be made with a republic or a prince? So let's go continuing. Because, he says, when a confederacy or a league can be more trusted, that made with a republic or that way with a prince. Now, 1. Okay, because it occurs every day that one prince makes a league and friendship together with another, or one republic with another, and similarly two confederations and accords are contracted between a republic and a prince, it appears to me to be examined with which faith is more stable, and of which more account should be taken, that of a republic or that of a prince. Examining everything, I believe that in many cases they are similar, and in some there is some lack of conformity. In other words, most things, in many cases, they're similar. That princes and republics are similar in of their faithfulness, but in some things there is some lack of conformity between the two. I believe, therefore, that accords. Accords made with you by force will not be observed either by a prince or a republic. In other words, if you do it by force, princes or republic won't do it. I believe that if fear for one state comes, both will break with you as not to lose it. In other words, to lose, and in other words, fear for the state comes. In other words, I believe that if fear for the state comes, fear for the state they would break faith with you and not to lose their state. In other words, states pursue their national interest. If it's in the survival or interest of the state and they fear that they will lose their state or their state will be harmed, they will break faith. And will practice ingratitude. In other words, I believe that fear of the state comes, they will break faith with you so as not to lose it, and will practice ingratitude to you. Demetrius, who was called the capture of city, had conferred infinite benefits on the Athenians. When it occurred that he was defeated by his enemies, and taking refuge in Athens, as in a friendly city obliged to him, he was not received by it, which grieved him very much more than the loss of his troops and the army has done. In other words, this is the case of Demetrius, right? In Livy's chapters, book 7, chapter 26. Demetrius, who helped their, when they lost their troops, he was friendly by Athens. He went to hide in Athens, and Athens didn't welcome him. Right? Pompey, defeated as he was by Caesar in Thessaly, took refuge in Egypt with Ptolemy, who in the past had been put back in his kingdom by him, and he was killed by him. right? So Pompey put Ptolemy back in his kingdom, but then what happened was when he went to go to Pompey, then Pompey killed him. Again, this is the no, it's 60. Oh boy, jeez. Pompey was killed. Plutarch's Pompey, 79-70. Pompey was killed by Ptolemy's son, not by him. So, such things are seen to have had some cause. Nevertheless, more humanity was used and less injury done by the Republic than the prince. In other words, the example of this is that they just refused to let him in. The Athenians refused to let him in. The prince killed Pompey killed Caesar, right? The son of Pompey, right? Where there is fear, therefore, will be found the same faith in fact. So when there is fear, therefore, there will be found the same faith in fact. If either a republic or a prince will be found that expects to be ruined, so as to observe faith with you, this too can arise from similar causes. As to a prince, it can very well occur that he's friendly with a powerful prince, who he can hope with time may restore him in his principality. If indeed he does not have the opportunity then to defend him, or truly that, having followed him as a partisan, he does not believe he will find either faith or accord with one's enemy. In other words, there's two reasons, he says. In other words, he believes that I'm going to get restored with him and my principality. If indeed he does not have opportunity then to defend him, or truly that, having followed him as a partisan, he does not believe he will find faith or accord with that one's enemies. In other words, the enemies won't be nice to them as well. In other words, if I can find favor with the enemies, I might betray you. But if I'm not going to find favor, there's no benefit here. There's no benefit not to help him in that sense, right? Those princes of the realm of Naples who had followed the French party had this fate. In other words, they followed the French because they didn't think the other side would. In other words, with the war between the French and the Spanish over Naples in 1503 and 4, a number of barons on the French side were imprisoned by Gonslavo de Cortina, the Spanish captain. In the truce that follows Gontola's victory, they were left to their fate. In other words, they were on the French side. They were imprisoned. The Spanish victory wasn't going to be a reason for them to be benefacted on this, right? And he goes that the words so follow the Spanish party. In republics, Santigum in Spain, which expected ruin for having followed the Roman party, had this fate. So did Florence for having followed the French party in 1512. When everything has been computed, I believe that in cases where there is urgent danger, some stability will be found more in republics than princes. So taken again, in other words, he says, in other words, when everything is computed, he given examples of this case is when everything's computed and when there is urgent danger, some stability will be found more in republics than in princes. For though republics have the same intent and the same wish as the prince, their slow motion will make them always have more trouble than resolving than a prince. And because of this, have more trouble in breaking the faith than the prince, than he. The prince, in other words, again, this is a question. Because a republic is going to have many artificers, it's going to take slower to break faith. It's going to take more time to deliberate and to do this. And because of this, they will break faith, but it will take more time. And because of it, they'll be slower. And therefore, it's going to give you more time to resolve things. Where with a prince, it's quick decision. You've lost faith, and you have no remedies, right? Confederations are broken for utility. In other words, so therefore, one of fear that they're going to be of loss of their thing, right? Next thing is that confederations are broken for utility. And this republics are by far more observant in accords than princes. In other words, republics will even the example could be brought up in which the least utility has made a prince break faith, with a great utility has not made a republic break faith. In other words, that okay, there's great utility and they will break. And the little utility will lead a prince to break faith, where in a republic, a great utility will lead them to still keep faith. He goes, such was the policy that Themistocles proposed to the Athenians, to whom he said in the assembly that he had counseled that it would be of great utility for their fatherland, that he could not tell it because he could not disclose it. For by disclosing it, the opportunity to act upon it would be taken away. Hence the people of Athens chose Aristides, to whom the affair might be communicated, and then it would decide about it according as it appeared to him. Themistocles showed him that the fleet of all the Greeks, though it remained under their faith, was in a spot where it could be easily gained or destroyed, which would make the Athenians whole arbiter of that province. Hence Aristides reported to the people that the policy of Themistocles was very useful but very dishonest, for which the people wholly refused it. Right? This is Plutarch's Themistocles and Cicero Diophanes book 3. Right? Philip of Macedon would not have done that, nor would the other princes who have sought and gained more utility by breaking utility, or the useful by breaking faith than with any other mode, right? So therefore, the Philip of Macedon and other princes, they break faith. Why? If it's useful and faith, and they would break faith than any other mode. I do not speak of breaking pacts for some cause or non-observance of an ordinary thing, but I speak of those who have broken for extraordinary causes, in which I believe, because of the things said, the people make lesser errors than the prince, and because of this can be trusted more than the prince. Okay, we'll stop here. If you have any comments or questions, please put them below and I'll respond to them when they are. And again, this is not the last chapter. The next chapter, 60, is the chapter. I catch getting caught with the length of the books. I'm a little annoyed at this. I just thought it was going to be one lost chapter, but I didn't see that there was a little teeny chapter behind that. Okay, so this is not the last chapter. This is the penultimate chapter now, really. So therefore, you put your comment, questions, and on it, and you can say that. In fact, if you didn't like it, you can thumbs down it and say, "Yay, he screwed up." Okay, I screwed up. Mea culpa. But if you have any negative comments or things like this, please put them below, and or criticisms, and people can learn from them in that sense. Another thing you can do is, if you liked it, hit the like button. Share it. If you liked it, share the video. Share it far and wide. Share it to your friends. Share it in your social media. In other words, liking, commenting, sharing, all of this increases the algorithm's ability to find these videos on the system. And last but not least, if you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing, encouraging people to come subscribe to the channel to help it grow and get more attention. We're recently been hit 600, so woo! 600 subscribers. We lost some. We every once in a while we gain some and we lose some. Now what we have to do now is we're going to have to now look at. You didn't, like I said, you can thumb it down and say why. Again, we did that earlier in the thing. You can want to follow me on social media. The social media links are below. If you want to know more about me as an academic and a scholar, and check out my academic writings and things like that, check out the academic social media links below the social media links. And if you want to help contribute to what I do and help support me, you can do so through Patreon or Subscribestar, or you can just buy one of the books listed below at either at your local bookstore, an online distributor like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or someplace like that, Libris, Book Depository, or through the publishers themselves. Well, that it? Well, then we'll finish the book next chapter. So see you tomorrow. See you next time, where we finally finish book 1 of the Discourses. Because it's 60. I was surprised. It's been humiliating 2 videos. Right? Oops. I did it again. Okay, take care and have a great day. Bye-bye.